Hello and welcome to this lecture. In this lecture, you will learn about the data types in Postgres. We're only going to cover the basic data type. And the data types includes the Boolean, which is a Boolean value, character, number, temporal, array, and special types. A Boolean data type can hold one of three possible values. So it can either be true, false, or null. Null meaning there is no value. So when you insert data into a Boolean column, Postgres will convert it into a Boolean value, which could be yes for true, or false, or n for no. So if the value is a 1, it will be a yes or a true. If the value is a 0, it will be a no or a false value. A null value means you don't know what the value is. So null doesn't mean, it just means empty. You don't know it. There are three main types of character data type. So you've got the char, you've got the varchar, and you've got the text. So the char data type basically is a fixed length character with blank padded. So what that means, if you insert a string is a text. If you insert a string that is shorter than the length of the column, Postgres will pad the spaces to make up for the other. The n here refers to the character. So you can have, maybe if you've got 4 characters there, what you're saying is that you want the column to take 4 characters. If you only enter 2 characters out of the 4, Postgres will pad the other spaces to make up the 4 characters. That's what that means. However, if the character is longer than the length you have specified, for example, if I specified 4 characters and I insert or try to insert 5, Postgres will complain because the character limit has been exceeded. The next is the varchar. The varchar, the n here represents the number of characters that you pass in there for it to accept. Varchar basically is a variable length character string, so it can accept strings or text or variable length. You can store up to n number of characters with variable length characters, so you can store any amount with this variable length character. The n value, it's variable. So you can store up to n characters with the variable length character strings. Postgres does not pad any spaces when the stored string is shorter than the length of the column. Unlike the char, if, for example, I specify 255 characters and you only enter, say, 10 characters, Postgres does not bother to pad the other spaces as it does with the char type. The next is the text. So the text also is a variable length character and it accepts strings. If you notice, I have not put an n value here because with the text type, you don't need to specify the length, of the character. So basically, theoretically, a text has an unlimited length of characters. So you can enter an unlimited number of text you want in that field if you wish to. The number data type. Postgres provides 2 distinct type of numbers. The first is integers, and there are 3 types of integers. So you have the small integer, which basically is a 2-byte signed integer, and then you've got the integer itself. This is a 4-byte integer, and then you've got the serial. The serial basically is the same as integer, except that in Postgres, it generates and populates values into a column automatically for you. So if you're creating a table, for example, and you have an ID column and you want it to auto-populate, you'll have to use the serial data type. The next type of number data type is the floating point number. There are three types, main types of floating point numbers. You've got the float, and the floating point number whose precision at least n represent the number and has up to 8 bytes. The next is the real or float 8. This is a double precision or 8-byte point number. The float can also have up to a maximum of 8 bytes, but it must have at least an n value. Then we have the numeric or numeric PS. This is a real number with p digits and s number, which is these are precision numbers. So we have the p digits with s numbers after the decimal points. The next type of data type is the temporal data type. This data type stores things like date and time related data. There are 5 main temporal data types in Postgres. So I'll start with the first one, which is a date. The date basically stores date values. And then we have the time that stores time of the day value. We've got the timestamp that stores the date and the time. And then we've got the interval. The interval stores periods of time. And we've got the timestamp. This stores both timestamps and the time zone data. The timestamp is a Postgres extension to the temporal data type. The next data type is the special data type. So besides the primitive data types, Postgres also provides several data types related to the geometric and network. So the first is the box. Basically, this is a rectangular box type of data. And then you've got the line. So some of these are used with geometric or network related. And then you've got the line, which is a set of points. And then you've got point, which is a geometric pair of numbers. And then you've got the one seg, which is a line segment. Then you've got polygon, which is a closed geometric. You've got the inet, which is an IP4 address. This is a network related. And then you've got the MAC address, basically refers to the MAC address on a network card. The final data type I'm going to talk about is the arrays data type. An array basically allows you to store an array of strings. You could also store an array of integers and so on. Array basically are multiple variables. So a variable can store one value. An array can store multiple variables as one value. So you can store an array as strings. You can store an array of integers and so on. Just remember that an array contains several variables. Where a variable stores one value, an array can store multiple values as one array. So that is it for this lecture on data types. Thanks for watching. Bye for now. Hello and welcome. This is just a brief video to introduce you to CRUD. CRUD basically is an acronym that stands for create, read, update, and delete. So these are the 4 basic operations that are mostly performed on a database system. So you create objects on the database, and the objects could include databases and tables, and then you can also read from that database. So you can retrieve and read the records from that database. You can also update existing records inside a database and also delete records inside a database. CRUD is the most popular and most common basic operations that you will perform on any database system. In this course, we are going to create a front-end application with Python that we will use to interact with the database. So we're going to be creating a database and a table inside our SQL server, and then we will interact with that database and table from the front-end Python application. So we'll be able to read data from the database table. We're also going to be able to update data and delete data from within the Python front-end application. So there will be interaction between the database and the front-end Python application.